to talk through that. So we have, and you can just watch, right? So we have y equals mx plus b, and this is on your formula chart. And we have ax plus by equals c, and then we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now this is called the slope. Oops, let me spell right. This one is called the slope-intercept form. Which makes sense because they gave us a slope and the y-intercept. This is called standard form. And then this one is point slope form. Which also makes sense because these two values make the point, x1 comma y1, and then there's the slope. So we have a point and a slope. That's the name point slope. So when we, all right, we're taking a look at note 6.3 right now. And what we want to do is we want to be able to write linear functions based on a description and in various forms. All right, so on this spell work, they want us to write our equation in slope-intercept form, which we know is y equals mx plus b. And if you don't have that memorized, you can see that on your formula chart. That means I'm trying to isolate the y variable. So I box the y variable and I try to isolate it. So the first thing I'm going to do is solve for y, so I box it, and in order to do that, I need to move the 2x. So I subtract 2x from both sides, and I'm left with y equals negative 2x plus 0. Now when I write that equation, I can write it as y equals 2x. I don't necessarily need the plus 0. It's understood that plus 0 is there, but that you don't need it. Our slope is 2, and our y-intercept, it says intercept. That tells me I have to give it to you as an ordered pair, is at 0, 0. I know it's at 0, 0 because b equals 0. And if we're talking about a y-intercept, it's 0 and then the number, or 0 and then b. Which if it's 0, then that means we got the point 0, 0. That was a whole lot of zeros. We're going to take a look at question number 2. And it says, determine the best linear equation and graph each of the following. All right, so we're dealing with a couple of different types of equations. So I want to take a minute, just go back and look at number 2. If I look at number 2, I can see that they've given me a slope and they've given me a y-intercept. So that means the type of equation I'm going to use is y equals mx plus b because I've been given a slope and an intercept. And then I just plug the numbers in. So m is negative 1/2 x, b is 3. My finger changed the page. And so I know my equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 3. Now when I take a look at that slope, I know the slope is negative 1 over 2, or I can write the negative in the denominator. Either way is correct. If I write it in the numerator, then I'm going to go down 1, right 2. If I write it in the denominator, then I'm going to go up 1, left 2. Okay, so I'm going to start by graphing my y-intercept. On the y-axis, I draw my graph at 3, and I'm going to use this slope, down 1, right 2. So I'm going to go down 1, right 2, draw my next point, and I'm going to do that for several times. Now, I tell my students in class that they only need to do 3, but because I'm on the computer and I don't have a very good straight edge, I draw way more than 3. And then you have to make sure that you connect your points and draw your line pretty much to the edge of the graph. I have some students in my class who are drawing a line like this and stopping. No, you need to make it bigger. It needs to fall to pretty close to the edge of the graph. All right, so it says a line that passes through this point and has a slope of 4/5. So we know that we're going to use point slope form. Now, just in case you've forgotten what that is, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, I'm going to remember that when I put the point in the equation, it changes sign. So the type is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And this is my x value of the first point, and this is my y value of the first point. And so I'm going to take my y and put it in here, and it's going to change sign, so I get plus 4. It was negative 4, now it becomes plus 4. I'm going to take my x and plug it in there. It was positive 5, now it becomes minus 5. And I know that my slope is 4/5. Now, they want us to convert it to slope-intercept form. You can see here that we've got slope-intercept form. Well, so I'm going to rewrite this equation just to make sure we're all on the same page. I'm changing this so it looks like y equals mx plus b. So the first thing I need to do is distribute the 4/5. So I get y plus 4 equals 4/5 y, 4/5 x. And 4/5 times negative 5 is going to be minus 4. And then the second thing I'm going to move is move the 4. And I'm moving this 4 here because I'm trying to isolate the variable. And so I get y equals 4/5 x minus 8. And so now I've written it in slope-intercept form. Y equals 4/5 x minus 8, which is a little challenging. Now I'm going to graph it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I drew my point, my B at negative 8, and then I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then up 4, over. Now again, you need to draw your line all the way to the edge of the graph. Make sure that it's clearly marked. Our slope is 4/5. That was easy. We already knew that. Our y-intercept is going to be right here on the y-axis, and our x-intercept is going to be here on the x-axis. So I know this y-intercept is at 0, negative 8. Now, if it's an intercept, you have to write it as a point. So that's why, or ordered pair, that means the same thing. That's why I've got this parentheses, and I've got a 0 and a comma. The x-intercept is at 10, 0, and so I know that's going to be at 10, 0. Of 5, this is basically the same thing. Do we need to do all this work? Now, moving on to number 4. Now it says, remember our objective is that you can write linear functions based on a description in various forms or based on information that you have and in various forms. So what we're doing is I'm giving you a description, which is information, and then you're having to decide what form to use. So it says I have a slope of 2 and an x-intercept of 5. Now this is not the y-intercept, so I can't use slope-intercept form. That has to be the y-intercept. But I know that if it's a 0, same as an x-intercept, so then I know that that's going to be the point 5, 0. So I have a point and I have a point and I have a slope. So I'm going to use point slope, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now I'm going to substitute in the information. So my x value is going to go here, and my y value is going to go here. So I'm going to have y minus, let me get off of the highlighter, y minus 0, the slope is 2, right, and x minus 5, because it's going to change signs as it goes in. Now my question is, do we have to convert it like we did on the last problem? Is there an easier way? And the answer is there's an easier way. We're going to start by graphing that point, 1, 2, 1, 2, 5, 0, and then I'm going to use the slope. I know my slope is 2 over 1, which means that's up to right 1. I'm going to use that slope to graph my line. Now I've gone in and drawn several points because I need to be able to draw a reasonably straight line. You only have to draw 2 or 3. I tell my kids to draw 3. And there we go. We've graphed the line. And so I know the slope is at 2. My y-intercept is right here, which is at 0, -10. And my x-intercept is at 0, 5. So we're ready to go. I didn't have to convert it in order to graph it. If I have the point and the slope, I can just start at the point that's given and then use the slope to find the next points. Now here we have a line that passes through the point 3, -4 and has a slope of 2/3. All right, so we've got a point and a slope again, so you should be able to tell me what type of equation this is. Point slope. So say it with me. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's correct. Now, this becomes my x1 and this is my y1, so I'm going to substitute it in. I get y equals, when I put in the -4, it becomes +4 equals. My slope is 2/3, so I'm going to put that where the m is. And then it's x minus 3. Now I'm going to start by plotting the point, and then I'm going to use the slope to find the other point. So I'm going to plot the point 3, -4. And my slope is 2/3, so I know I'm going to go up 2, right 3. Up 2, right 3. And then I'm going to draw my line. So my slope was 2/3. My y-intercept is right here at 0, -6. Oh my gosh. Did you guys see what I did wrong on that? I hope you did. This is the x-axis, people. My x-intercept is here at 9, 0. My y-intercept is here at 0, -6. There we go. Now I'm on target. All right, let's take a look at problem number 6. Now, this is a word problem, so I want to take a little bit of time to make sure you see my note, which says that the standard form is ax plus by equals c, is often used in word problems. So whenever you see a word problem, you should be thinking, I'm going to need to write it in standard form. So let's read it, and I'm going to go through and read it twice. It says Emery has X books that weigh 2 pounds. All right, so I know X is 2. And he has Y books that weighs 3 pounds each, and the total weight of his books are 18 pounds. So I can think of the rate of X as 2, so that's going to be 2X, and the rate of Y is 3Y, and I know that total is 18. Now, if I want to graph this, it's quite easy. I'm going to do the duck and cover method, which is what some people call it. But basically what I do is I'm going to start by finding the x-intercept, and in order to do that, I'm going to cover up my y. When I cover up my y, I get 2x equals 18. Divide by 2 because I want to isolate the x, and I get x equals 9, which means my x-intercept is at 9, 0. And I can go ahead and graph that. And then if I want to find out the y-intercept, then what I do is I cover up that x, and I'm going to use the equation 3y equals 18. Divide by 3 on both sides, and you get y equals 6. So I know my y-intercept is 0, 6. And I'm going to graph that. So now I've got my 2 points. And then if you have a nice straight edge, you'll use it. Draw your line all the way to the edge of the graph. So we've already decided that our y-intercept is 0, 6 and our x-intercept is 9, 0. The question is, how am I going to figure out the slope? Well, all I need to do is draw my triangle. Now you can draw a different triangle. That's just what I'm choosing to draw. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I know my slope is 6 over 9 because it's y over x's. If I put that in my calculator and I do math, enter, then I get a slope of -2/3. I know it's negative because it's going down. And if I want to write the equation in slope-intercept form, I know that's the y-intercept, so I know my slope in this case was negative 2/3, and my b is 6. So it's going to be y equals 2/3 x plus 6. All right, you need to make sure that you get assignment 6-3 completed and ready to turn in by class time. And I appreciate you listening to the videos. We know that students that watch the videos on Schoology do better in class, especially if they use it to study ahead of time and watch it before they come to class. So good job, and thank you for listening.